So, I have done a live stream for the multiplayer of Ships at Sea. It lasted just under 3 hours. If you guys want to go check out the live stream, it is in the live tab on the channel. And yes, I have started live streaming again, but I want to say, do not buy Ships at Sea if you are wanting to play multiplayer. I initially, in my Is It Worth Playing, I said, if you're desperate to play with your friends, then grab this game. And that still applies. If you're desperate to play with your friends, then pick the game up. But know that there are a lot of problems. And these are probably going to take a long time to fix. Some of them are probably never going to change. Number one being that this is not online multiplayer co-op. This is single player, but you're in a co-op lobby. Every single player in the session has their own game save. They have their own money. They have their own boats. You are not allowed to board your friend's boat. So if you want to set up a long line boat or you want to set up a cargo boat, you're doing it on your own. The way me and Pete started this one, we tried with the rowboats, they didn't work, we'll get into that. But we started with a cargo boat. You go to the office, you grab your job, you each get your own cargo, you have to each individually load your cargo into your own boats, and then you have to just sail the seas together to the destination. Everything is individual, there's nothing true co-op about this. It's just a co-op lobby, but you're all in single-player careers. I can't stress enough how bad that is. It's not actually co-op. And the worst thing is, the devs are still putting out little patches, and they said they fixed a couple of things. They said team up in co-op. You can't team up. It's not a feature. It's a single-player game. You're just in a co-op lobby. Then number two is they did say in the notes for my preview copy, because they did give me free access to the game, I appreciate it, but they did say there were sync issues, and these are very visible. They're worse than I anticipated, because one of the things that happened during the stream is the waves from Pete's boat, like Pete was about 30-40 foot behind me, meters, whatever you want to call it, yet his waves off his boat were in front of my boat, just to the right-hand side. So I could see his waves looking forward to where I'm going, but I couldn't see him. I turn around and look at his boat, I can see his boat, but I can't see his waves. The sinking issues are really bad in some aspects. Now, when you first start, you are given a rowboat, and these rowboats do not work. From the moment you start this, from the very beginning, you have to buy the cargo boat, as anybody in your session that is not the host cannot do anything when they board the rowboat. And if that does happen to you, the bug that Pete had, and even I had joining Pete's session, because we both tried hosting to see if it was any different for either player, but it happened the exact same way. You grab your cargo, you go enter your rowboat, and then you can't do anything. So what you do is you press escape, you go to exit the main menu, and the game force closes. It crashes on you completely. Back to your desktop. So from the moment you start this game, you have to buy the 50 grand or whatever it is. I think it's just shy of 50 grand. You have to buy the first cargo boat, or you can't even play multiplayer, because only the host is able to do things with their rowboat. The rowboat doesn't work for other players. And sometimes when you're on a cargo run, even the host can have problems in the game. I was hosting it. I went and dropped off the cargo. Pete did exactly the same thing at the same time. But when it come back to jumping in our boats to get out of there and go back to the original port where you get the jobs from, I got stuck in a bug where I couldn't undock. So I had to reload. We lost our save. We had to start all over again. So yeah, the host can have really bad problems as well as the other players. And talking about saves, if you get stuck, you have to relog or reload a save. Relogging, you basically have to save this game. And in multiplayer, there is no such function as autosave. It's manual save only. So the host has to be on top of saving the game over and over again. Otherwise, you're going to lose up to you could lose all of your progress if you don't manually save the game. But not only that, if you're getting stuck, if you're say for an example, you go to the office, you go to services, you pay for the service that gets your boat towed back to the nearest port, you get 5 of them free for the cheapest service. But even having that service unlocked, there's no way to call these people to get your boat towed. You can't return to the port, even if you're paying for that service. So basically, I was stuck out at sea going 5.5 knots in the fishing boat. I wanted to return to the port to upgrade the boat because I had to spare money, and there's no way to get myself towed. I believe you have to be beached or something like that to be able to use the service, which makes no sense. You should be able to call that service just to get yourself out of being somewhere out at deep sea that you don't want to be. I don't even know if it does work when you're beached. I couldn't find any way to use this, and in the tips and stuff, there's no instructions as to how the service works. And then one of the biggest problems, if you relog, if you enter the shipyard, or basically if you breathe in this game, your mission is cancelled. And we completed a cargo run. We went 2.3 nautical miles, which was really, really far in a slow boat. It took us well over 20 minutes to get there. We completed that run, dropped off the cargo, and we got paid 30 grand for the job. Well, on our way back to the port to go to the office and get another job, we ended up, I accidentally beached my ship, or my boat, whatever you want to call it. I beached it and had no way out. There was no way to reverse. Pete smashing into my boat didn't get us out of it or anything like that. So I had to relog. And what happened with that relog? The last save I made was before we dropped off that job. So you would think you go back into that save, you got your cargo, you just carry on with the rest of your trip, drop it off, get your money. Well, no, we were about 60% along the route towards that job, except when you load back in, your mission's cancelled, it's failed. So we were stuck out at sea with no cargo, no job. We lost the 30 grand, so we had to go back to the port anyway just to pick up another job. And if you have a job, we had a job, we loaded up 5 bits of cargo into our boats, into each one of them. We entered the shipyard to see if we could repair the damage, and it cancels the job. But it takes the job out of the office too. So not only do you lose progress on the job and have to start again, but you can't start that exact same job again because it takes that job away from you. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff in the game that's going to cancel your current job. You lose money, you lose progress, you lose time. It's just a complete waste. And the only office where you can take jobs from in the whole game seems to be at Rost. It just seems as though there's one office where you can take cargo jobs, which means every single time after you complete a cargo job, you have to, it's just so much more tedious because you have to make it back to Rost. If you're in a slow boat, it's so tedious. And next up is the money and how incredibly unbalanced it is. I'm getting more and more angry as I'm talking about this game even more for the multiplayer side of it. A 0.3 nautical mile job pays about 2/3, or it is bang on 2/3 of a job that is 2.3 nautical miles. So over 10, a little under 10 times the distance. So basically a 0.3 nautical mile job's going to pay you 20 grand. A 2.3 nautical mile job only pays you 30 grand. So if you want to earn money and you want to do it fast in this game, only ever take the shortest jobs available. But to give you guys a better idea of how bad it is, I've done the calculations. The longest cargo job in the entire game, at least what we found so far, is 17 nautical miles away. And it pays 125,000 money, and it gives you 1,250 XP. But if you do the 0.3 nautical mile jobs 57 times, which totals around, roughly around the same distance traveled, you're going to earn 1.14 million money and 11,400 XP. So it's almost 10 times better, 10 times more efficient in your career to take the shortest jobs possible over any other cargo jobs. It's so unbalanced in terms of the money you earn for the jobs you're doing. And then probably the absolute biggest problem is somehow you have the ability to fall through the map. This happened to Pete, so I was hosting the game. This happened to Pete, who wasn't the host. But when this happens, it takes your boat away. If you relog, you spawn under the map still, meaning that you have to start all over again on a brand new game save. So when you join your friend again, if they've got a good boat, you are starting with a broken rowboat. So you've got to go buy that initial cargo boat, the blue one. You've got to do everything all over again, start afresh if the game chucks you under the map and you're not the host. And over half the stuff that's in the game, is not available during this part of the early access. You have to wait for that stuff to be implemented. And I am sick and tired of the excuse being around of it's early access, it's just launched, give them time, they're working on it. They have released it into early access and they are charging £20 for this game. You can't even really call it a game. It's I'm going to say it's about 15-20% of what it should be and what the developers probably even want it to be. They've released it so early on. There's barely any skills that are available in the game. There's 7 boats, not even half the boats they want in by the full release, but they're still charging you almost as much as they do for their fully released games. And around 70%, I'm going to say about 70% of the stuff in the game is not explained in the single player tutorial, like how to do your long lines and stuff. You just get basic fishing with a jigger and then it says you're on your own now, go do your career. But around 70% of the stuff in the game is not explained in the single player tutorial, and multiplayer doesn't have a tutorial at all. So with Pete knowing nothing about the game whatsoever, I could only help him and begin our journey together because I had already played single player as I got an early review copy of the game. If I had to wait and we both purchased the game at the same time and started playing together in multiplayer straight away, neither of us would have a fucking clue what to do. This game is one of the worst I have played this year for multiplayer, and it's unacceptable considering they have 2 other games that they've previously released. All they had to do was take the foundation of the successful parts of those games and implement more to this game. Your autopilot's shit in this game, it was alright in North Atlantic. Your sonar doesn't work properly, they're still working on it, but they had to sort it all out in North Atlantic. It's like they've started development for parts all over again. But they shouldn't need to do that. They should be able to rip stuff from the archive, implement it, change some of the coding around and fix it. They shouldn't be building all this. Farm Together 2 did the same thing where they build a load of stuff from scratch that they didn't need to. It just means you get less of a game when you buy the early access version of it. And I know it's early access, I get it. But these games are releasing as like 0.5s of their predecessors, and they're supposed to be early access of sequels. So on a final note, I really do hope they turn it around for the players, but early access is slated to take around 1 to 2 years. So with multiplayer being a separate component as well, you're probably looking at like 3 to 4 years, or for this installment of the franchise to just end up becoming abandonware, because it's not gone well at all from the early access launch. It's mostly negative on Steam, with a 33% rating out of the 18 reviews it's had so far. It's been an absolute shambles. Single player is decent, I will say that. I've said it all the way through my stream. I enjoyed playing it for the video I've done for it already. I'm probably going to carry on with the single player, but multiplayer is an absolute shit show. And if you're buying this game, do not buy it for the multiplayer portion of the game. At the moment, it's not worth it whatsoever. It's going to cause about 50 times more stress than what you're going to have fun. And it doesn't matter that you're playing with friends, it's still the exact same. So we are going to leave that video there. Let me know your thoughts and stuff about Ships of Sea in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching.